What if I told you that the one private habit you thought was harmless, the one thing you've done for decades without a second thought, is quietly robbing you of your manhood? What if I told you it could be the real reason your erections feel weaker, your sensitivity has faded, and that spark of confidence you used to have is slowly dimming? And that it has nothing to do with the fact that you're doing it, but everything to do with how you're doing it. If you're a man over 60, I need you to listen, really listen, because we're going to talk about something almost no one does. For over 25 years, I've dedicated my life to helping men just like you navigate the changes that come with age. Not just to survive, but to feel powerful, connected, and truly alive again. And what we're discussing today is one of the most common, yet deeply misunderstood issues I see every single week. The real thief of your vitality isn't the number on your driver's license. It isn't just getting older. The true enemy is a silent, mindless routine. It's a habit that, over time, can disconnect you from your own body, dull your nerves, and even convince you that your best days are behind you. It's a habit that turns a natural act into a source of isolation and decline. But here is the promise I want to make to you today. Reclaiming your power, your firmness, and your connection doesn't require a prescription, an expensive gadget, or a risky procedure. The solution is already within you. It's about making a few simple, powerful shifts in your awareness and your approach. It's about learning to work with your body, not against it. And if you're new here and you want more honest, no-nonsense health advice for men in their prime, do me a favor. Take a moment to click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This community is for you, and I don't want you to miss the insights that could change your life. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 silent traps of masturbation after 60, the hidden ways your private habit might be working against you. And more importantly, I'll show you how to transform this habit from a potential source of weakness into a powerful tool that can actually protect your prostate health, improve blood flow, and deepen your capacity for real, meaningful intimacy. So let's begin. Because your health, your confidence, and your story deserve the truth. The first trap is one I've seen silently erode the emotional well-being of countless good men. And it has nothing to do with your body and everything to do with your soul. It's social isolation. I remember sitting with a patient of mine, let's call him Frank. He was a 67-year-old retired high school teacher from Texas, a man with a sharp mind but a quiet sadness in his eyes. After we talked for a bit, he leaned forward and said, his voice barely a whisper, "Doc, I haven't had a real hug in months. I take care of things on my own. Is that wrong?" That question hit me hard. Not because the act is wrong, it isn't. Self-pleasure, when it's part of a balanced life, can be perfectly healthy. The problem is what happens when it stops being a support for intimacy and becomes a replacement for it. For so many men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, life gets quieter. A solo release becomes a predictable comfort, a habit to fill the empty hours. And slowly, without you even noticing, you stop seeking real connection. The desire to call a friend, to ask someone on a date, to even just shake a new person's hand. It fades. Masturbation fills the gap, until that gap becomes a canyon separating you from the rest of the world. It's a subtle withdrawal from life. It's choosing the certainty of being alone over the vulnerability of being with another person. And let me tell you a truth few will say out loud. Physical touch is not just about pleasure. It's medicine. It's what keeps your emotional circuits firing. It's what keeps your sense of self-worth alive. When you stop reaching out, your world shrinks. Not because you're getting older, but because you've stopped believing you have anything left to give. If this sounds familiar, see it not as a failure, but as a signal. Your body and soul are wired for more, and that more is still possible. It starts with one small step. Call an old friend. Join a local club. Strike up a conversation at the grocery store. Intimacy isn't just about sex. It's about being seen, heard, and valued as a man. Now, while emotional distance is a danger you feel in your heart, the next trap is one you can feel on your skin. It's something most men ignore until it's too late. This is the danger of skin microlesions. Not long ago, a patient in his early 70s, we'll call him Bill, came to see me. He was embarrassed. "Doc," he said, "I've noticed some irritation down there after I It's happening more often. He was worried something was seriously wrong with him. Here's the simple truth. As we age, the skin of the penis becomes thinner, more delicate, and slower to heal. The collagen and elasticity of our youth naturally decline. Now, combine that with years of friction, especially if it's too aggressive or done without lubrication, and you get what we call microlesions. These are tiny, almost invisible tears in the skin. At first, you might just notice a little redness or a slight sting. But over time, these repeated microinjuries lead to chronic inflammation, irritation, and even a loss of sensitivity. Can make things worse, not better. Many men think this discomfort means their body is failing them, when in reality, it's just their technique that needs to evolve. Masturbation should never hurt. If it does, it's a sign that your approach needs more wisdom and care. So what's the solution? It's simple. First, be gentle. You are not 25 anymore, and that isn't a weakness. It's a reason to treat your body with the respect it has earned. Second, and this is non-negotiable, always use a high-quality, water-based lubricant. Not soap, not spit. A proper lubricant protects your skin, prevents these tiny injuries, and actually preserves your sensitivity for the long haul. And third, slow down. This isn't a race to the finish line. This is about connection with yourself. This stage of life isn't about less pleasure. It's about better pleasure, wiser pleasure. There is profound strength in learning to work with your body, not against it. Now, if skin irritation is a warning sign you can feel, what about a danger you can't? What if I told you there's a trap that starts in your brain, one that quietly trains your body to stop responding to real-life intimacy altogether? This is the critical trap of desensitization. A patient, a 64-year-old man named David, sat in my office looking utterly defeated. "Doc," he said, "I can't feel things the way I used to. I can get there by myself, no problem. But with my wife, it's like nothing's there. What is wrong with me? I see this constantly, and it's rarely about low testosterone or poor circulation. It's about the quiet conditioning of your nervous system. Imagine this. Every time you masturbate, you use the exact same grip, the same rhythm, the same pressure while looking at the same type of material. Your brain and body start to build a deep, unshakable connection. They begin to believe that this one specific pattern is the only path to pleasure. It's like carving a trench in the ground. After years of water flowing down that one path, it forgets how to flow anywhere else. Sexually, we call this desensitization. It shows up as difficulty feeling aroused with a partner, needing more and more intense stimulation to get the same result, or being unable to climax without that one specific fantasy. It's not a moral failure. It's a neurological one. And the good news is you can retrain your nervous system. The solution is variety. Change your grip. Vary the speed and pressure. Use your imagination instead of a screen. Most importantly, slow down. Explore sensation without a desperate rush to the finish line. When you introduce variety, you reawaken dormant nerve pathways. You remind your brain that pleasure can be found in many different ways. I've seen men restore deep, intimate connections with their partners after years of numbness, simply by changing how they practiced alone. They didn't need a pill. They needed permission to be curious again. This trap is subtle, but it can create a massive chasm between you and the person you love. That bridge can be rebuilt. It starts by retraining how you respond to pleasure. Now, if desensitization changes how your body feels pleasure, the next trap is even more dangerous, because it can mask a life-threatening condition that you might be ignoring. This is the trap of masking erectile dysfunction. A man in his late 60s, a guy who worked out 3 times a week, came to me after delaying for nearly a year. He finally admitted, "I can get an erection when I'm by myself." Document. "No problem. But with my wife, it's a different story. So I just stopped trying." He thought it was just a performance issue, but his body was sending him a critical warning signal. Here is a fact every man over 60 must understand. Your penis is the barometer of your cardiovascular health. The arteries there are smaller than the ones in your heart. When they start to clog, when blood flow slows down, the first place you'll often see a problem is in the quality of your erections with a partner. But because masturbation is often less psychologically and physiologically demanding, you might still be able to achieve an erection on your own. You assume everything is fine. But this assumption can be deadly. By making it work on your own, you could be ignoring the earliest signs of heart disease, diabetes, or declining testosterone, all of which are highly treatable when caught early. I would much rather a patient come to me with these concerns early on than wait until he has a major health crisis. If you notice a pattern, erections that are less firm, that don't last, that only show up when you're alone, that is not something to hide or work around. That is a signal to see a doctor you trust. There is no shame in this. The only danger is in silence. You deserve a full life, not a workaround that masks a deeper problem. And as we talk about these things, if any of this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments below. Just type the number 1. Your feedback helps me create content that truly serves you. Now, if that risk hides in your blood flow, the next one comes from something as simple as how you sit. And it could be quietly damaging a key nerve for pleasure and control. This is the trap of nerve compression from poor posture. A few years ago, a man in his early 70s complained of a dull, persistent numbness in his groin. He thought it was just old age. But after a full evaluation, I realized the problem wasn't his circulation. It was his chair. Many older men spend more time seated, often hunched over in a recliner or at a desk. When you masturbate in this slouched position, especially on a hard surface, you can slowly compress the pudendal nerve. Think of this nerve as the main highway for sensation in your entire pelvic region. When you compress it over and over, it can lead to numbness, tingling, and a frustrating loss of sensitivity. The man thinks he's losing his desire, when in fact he's just pinching a nerve. The solution is incredibly simple. Awareness. Avoid masturbating while sitting slouched on a hard chair. Choose a reclined or lying down position where your spine and pelvis are supported. A pillow under your knees can also help by taking pressure off your lower back. Your nerves need room to breathe. When you give them that space, you give your body permission to feel again. It's a small change that makes a huge difference. But stick with me because we're about to discuss the emotional side of this, and then I'm going to reveal something truly special. At the very end of this video, I'll share the natural, 7-second technique I give my patients to help restore firmness and drive. A simple mindset shift that can change your experience almost overnight. It's something most men have never heard of, so you'll want to stay for that. The 6th trap isn't physical at all. It's about what happens when this private act stops being about pleasure and starts being your only form of escape. This is the trap of using masturbation as your only emotional outlet. Doc, a 68-year-old widower once told me, "Some days the loneliness is just too much. Masturbation helps shut it all off for a little while." He wasn't talking about lust. He was talking about using sensation to numb his emotions, the grief, the boredom, the feeling of being invisible. And it makes sense chemically. An orgasm releases a cocktail of hormones like dopamine and oxytocin that create a temporary feeling of calm and connection. You're not chasing pleasure. You're chasing relief. But when this becomes your only coping mechanism, it's a form of avoidance. Instead of processing your sadness or restlessness, you're just putting a temporary bandage on it. And slowly, you become dependent on that bandage. There is no shame in needing comfort. But if this is the only tool in your emotional toolkit, it's time to add more. Talk to someone. A friend, a family member, a therapist. Move your body. A simple walk outside can change your entire mental state. Find a purpose, a hobby, something that engages you with life, not just distracts you from it. You deserve more than momentary relief. You deserve real, lasting emotional strength. The 7th trap is a heavy one, and it's born from messages many of us received as young men. It's the trap of guilt and shame. A 72-year-old retired pastor once sat in my office, his eyes fixed on the floor. "I still do it sometimes, Doc," he confessed. "And afterward, I feel so dirty, like I've failed God and myself." That kind of quiet shame is a poison. For generations of men, masturbation was framed as sinful or weak. And those old messages can stick with you, creating a toxic cycle of brief pleasure followed by hours of self-loathing. This chronic shame can actually increase stress hormones like cortisol, disrupting your nervous system and diminishing your capacity for joy. I want you to hear me clearly. There is nothing shameful about tending to your own body. There is nothing immoral about wanting pleasure and comfort. When done with awareness and respect, it is a normal human act of self-care. It is not a flaw. You are not broken. It's time to let go of the judgment and replace it with compassion. You have the right to experience pleasure without punishment. Now, while guilt weighs on your heart, the next trap is one that weighs on your body, literally. It's an ache that builds quietly over time. This is pelvic congestion. A patient came to me describing a dull, heavy ache deep in his pelvis. It's not painful, doc, just a constant pressure. After retiring, he found himself masturbating 2 or 3 times a day out of boredom. He thought it was harmless, but his body was telling him otherwise. When ejaculation happens too frequently, especially as we age, the blood vessels and tissues in the pelvic floor don't have enough time to recover. They can become inflamed, leading to that feeling of heaviness and congestion. This isn't about morality. It's about physiology. Your body needs recovery time. More is not better. For most men over 60, a few days between sessions allows the system to reset, often leading to stronger, more fulfilling sensations. Listen to your body. If you feel that dull ache, it's a simple request for moderation and balance. The 9th trap is for a specific group of men, but it's an important one. It's about how this habit can impact your legacy. This is the potential impact on semen quality. He was 61, newly remarried to a younger woman, and they were trying to conceive. We've been trying for 6 months, and nothing, he told me. The hope in his eyes mixed with anxiety. His health was good, but when I asked about his habits, he admitted to ejaculating daily, thinking the more the better. But when it comes to fertility, quality matters more than quantity. Frequent ejaculation can temporarily reduce sperm concentration, giving the body less time to replenish its resources. For men in their 60s, where production is naturally a bit slower, this can make a difference. The research is clear. An abstinence period of 2 to 5 days often results in the highest sperm quality and motility. If fatherhood is a goal, giving your body time to prepare can significantly improve your odds. It's about being intentional, and that brings us to our final and perhaps most insidious trap. It starts in your mind, but it can change the way you see the world and the people in it. This is the disconnection from reality. Doc, real life just doesn't do it for me anymore. A man in his 70s told me with brutal honesty, I've gotten so used to pornography, a real woman just can't compete. He had unknowingly trained his brain to crave the extreme, unrealistic stimulation of fantasy. The human brain adapts. When you feed it a constant diet of high-intensity, artificial content, it rewires its reward system. It starts to find the gentle, nuanced, and authentic pace of real human connection boring. What starts as a visual aid can become a dependency that robs you of your ability to be present and moved by another human being. But your brain can be retrained. The solution is to take a break from artificial content. Let desire build naturally. Use your memory, your imagination. Re-engage with the real world. Allow yourself to rediscover the profound arousal that comes not from a screen, but from a touch, a scent, a shared look. You are not too old to feel something real again. So there you have it. The 10 silent traps. Not to scare you, but to empower you. This stage of your life is not about giving things up. It's about doing them with more wisdom, more awareness, and more self-respect. And your journey begins now. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want you to feel empowered. So here is my call to action for you right now. Don't try to fix all 10 things at once. Just choose one. Maybe tonight or the next time you are alone, you decide to simply be more gentle. Maybe you decide to buy a quality lubricant. Maybe you change your position. Just one small, conscious change. That is how the journey begins. And as you make that change, I want you to reinforce it with a vision of the future. Imagine waking up in the morning feeling not a trace of shame, but a sense of energy. Imagine feeling a connection to your partner, or even just to yourself that you thought was lost to time. Imagine feeling the warmth of true vitality spreading through your body again. This is not a pipe dream. This is what happens when you decide to honor the body you live in. And now, as promised, the 7-second technique is not a physical trick. It's a mental one. The next time you are in a moment of private pleasure, Just before you reach the point of no return, I want you to close your eyes and do this for 7 seconds. Instead of focusing on the physical sensation, shift your entire focus to a feeling of deep, profound gratitude. Be grateful for your body, for its ability to feel pleasure, for the life you have lived, for the strength that still resides in you. Anchor yourself in that feeling of thankfulness. What this does is it shifts you from a mindless, sensation-chasing state to a mindful, heart-centered one. Connects your body to your mind and your spirit. It turns a purely physical act into a moment of profound self-appreciation. And for so many of my patients, this simple 7-second shift has been the key to unlocking a deeper, richer, and more powerful experience than they've had in years. Try it. The doctor leans forward, his expression full of warmth and conviction. Remember this: age does not have to be a thief that steals your strength. It can be a teacher that gives you wisdom. The wisdom to be more present, more mindful, and more deliberate in how you choose to live and feel. Your story is not over. The next, most powerful chapter of your life, it begins right now.